Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. No one likes to be punished for a petty thing, and neither does our OP, who managed to get even more revenge for it. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Don't get mad at me for trying to do my laundry and be considerate. Oh man, I've been sitting on this story for 5 years, and I haven't told a soul. I was living in an efficiency apartment by myself for the first time. I was approximately 20 years old, and I was working 2 server jobs, both of which required a clean and presentable uniform. Every 3 days or so, I'd have to do a load of work clothes, and I didn't have much time to do it between jobs. The apartment complex that I lived in had 16 apartments in it, and we all shared a washer and dryer. I had the cycle timed to the minute. I would go to my apartment to watch a TV show or clean or something and would change my clothes from the washer to the dryer without wasting any time. I was considerate. After I'd been living there for 3 months or so, this lady moves in and starts doing her laundry in the washer and dryer, but she had the habit of leaving it in for hours, sometimes all night. I'd go to do my laundry, see that her clothes were in the washer, go back to my apartment, and wait for about 30 minutes or so, go back, and they'd still be there. I'd set an alarm for balls early in the morning to do my laundry before work, and her clothes would still be in there. After this happened 3 times or so, and my uniforms were pretty dirty, I'd take her clothes out of the washer and set them on top of the dryer so that I could wash my clothes. I did this a few times, then she wrote a note and said something along the lines of, "If you touch my clothes again, I will call the police," or something. Whatever. I wrote a note back saying that she isn't the only one that has to use the laundry. She seemed to get the message for a little bit. Maybe I just wasn't doing my laundry at the same time as her. But one night, I was doing laundry at midnight after I'd gotten off of work and my clothes were in the dryer. I set an alarm that would go off in 45 minutes, which is about how long the dryer in the complex takes. Before the alarm goes off, she shows up at my door with my uniform shirts neatly folded and a crap-eating grin on her face and says, "You left these over there, so I figured I'd fold them and bring them to you." The shirts weren't even dry. She pulled them out before they were done. I was really wanting to get my laundry done fast so I could go to bed. I just said thanks and slammed the door in her face. The next time I went to do my laundry, of course, hers was in there. I did my normal thing of going back to my apartment and waiting for 30 minutes or so, then going back over there to check if she had moved her clothes. To be fair, I did this for 3 hours. After 3 hours, I took a gallon of bleach and poured it all over her clothes in the washer. I don't know what got into me. I was just feeling some rage from her writing a nasty note and taking my clothes out of the dryer, folding them, then giving them back to me while they were wet. The next morning as I was leaving for work, I saw her pulling her bleach-stained clothes out of the dryer. For some reason, she didn't suspect me because she was fighting with her next-door neighbor as well. Go figure. She moved out soon after. I hate situations like this. You go out of your way to be the good guy and end up the bad guy. Plus, you were the only one really being affected, so no one cared. And our next story. It's tonight. This happened about a year ago to my friend, we'll call her Jen, and her little brother, Sam, 12 years old. Sam's baffling clairvoyance led to some great pro-revenge on intruders. One morning, Jen and Sam's mom went outside to see that her car window had been smashed. While nothing of value was in the car to be stolen, she noticed that they'd taken her garage door opener. The burglars clearly meant to come back another time to ransack the garage/her home when they thought nobody was home or the family was asleep. Unfortunately for them, Sam lived there and was obsessed with the idea of catching them in the act. A week and a half pass, and the whole family's a little on edge. They've had the police crews by most nights to check on them, but the criminals hadn't turned up. There was a reason they didn't get the garage doors changed. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, that morning, Sam wakes up and simply knows. He tells his family, "It's tonight. They're coming back tonight." The family kind of raises their eyebrows, obviously skeptical. He asks if he can stand guard, and the parents are like, "Yeah, whatever. Don't expect anything, though." Sam plans a stakeout with an airsoft gun, walkie-talkies, the whole 9 yards. He even tried to booby-trap some expensive tools in the garage, but I think he gave up after realizing it's much more difficult than the kid at Home Alone made it look. Sam goes outside at 11 p.m. and waits, hiding across the street in a neighbor's bush. After an hour, his family tells him to come inside via walkie-talkie and that the criminals are not coming back tonight. Sam refuses. He has a feeling. 12:30 a.m. rolls around, and two cars coming from opposite directions approach Sam's house, slow down, then keep driving. Super suspicious. The cars come by again, and his garage door opens. It's them. Sam takes pictures of the cars and license plates as they pass the second time. About 15 minutes later, three people creep up the driveway into the open garage. Sam radios inside to tell Jen and calls the police. A few minutes later, police arrive and arrest all three of them, who claim to have seen an open garage and went to investigate. This might have let them off with a warning or just a trespassing charge, as they had no stolen items on their person yet and no garage door opener for proof. They'd wisely left it in one of their cars. Unfortunately for them, Sam comes forward with his observation and photographs of their cars, takes the police 5 minutes to search the neighborhood and find the cars parked about a mile away from the house. They find like 20 garage openers in the cars, along with hundreds of dollars of stolen items. They're arrested on multiple counts. Around the age of 12, you hit a sweet spot where you have a child's imagination, sweetness, and boldness, but you're big and clever enough to have some epic adventures. I'm glad Sam got to have a perfect one at this golden age. And our last story. You've been in a helicopter, so you're an aviation expert. Back in my days as a consultant, I worked for a small company run by a complete penny-pinching shyster of a bloke. He thought nothing of charging $30,000 to write a marine lifting operations for someone by getting an intern or secretary to change the logos and do a find plus replace for Bob's Drilling to Acme Rigs. This led me, and a lot of my team, to have to pull some completely illegal/unethical crap. So a drilling contractor client of ours rings our boss up. Classic thing, the regulator went out to their rig and found a bunch of crap wrong, and they needed to fix it all yesterday or get shut down, so they ring up consultants to deal with it in a panic. Of all the projects I worked on as a consultant, this scenario was at least 30% of the business. My boss, of course, would see dollar signs and say very soothing things to the client while bumping up our rates. Client needs an aviation management plan to cover all their fixed-wing and helicopter operations in the Asia-Pacific region. Well, they didn't need one, frankly. My boss told them they needed one, but that's a side issue. Boss man basically says, absolutely, we can do that. We've already started. This is where I get summoned. OP, stop whatever you're doing. You're flying to KL, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, tomorrow to write an aviation plan. This is a priority project with priority rates. Yeah? Sorry? Says I. I've got 15 things to do, and I've never read one of these things before, let alone written one. If we've got the job, can't we just sub it out? Translation, sub it out, i.e., hire someone who actually knows what they're doing and is qualified, pay them a crappy day rate, and collect the difference. Well, you worked offshore, so you've been on helicopters plenty. Plus, no time for that. I told the client we can do it in-house. Kim's booked your flights. Retire to my office, punch whiteboard, F. Call around to see if my informal network has an example of one of these things I can reference. Nobody does. Double F. Have to be at airport the next day at 5:30 in the morning to be an aviation expert in front of a client. Call my assistant and drinking buddy and give her the rundown. She says the same thing. F. We leave the office at 2 p.m. to have a planning meeting about this. Planning meeting consists of beer at the pub and complaining about how dumb I am, and by extension, how dumb she is. Wait, she says. I have an idea. Is Ross still around? Effing genius, mate. Ross is an old mate of mine that I haven't spoken to in years since he got married, third time, and retired twice. He was also a career pilot for Bristow's, flew crap in the Army, and has been flying longer than most blokes have been staring at boobs for. Got his number from another mate, rang him up. Ross, you beautiful thing, how are you? OP, he replies. Been good, thanks, mate. Have you been drinking? Yes, says I. How would you like to make some money? Mate, you know I'm retired. How does $600 a day plus cost sound? Sounds good, mate. We organize our little plan. Ross will book his flights on my credit card, which I'll expense because it's easier, and he'll invoice me directly for the hours and be paid in cash under my separate business name and expensed as well. Assistant to handle details with promise of promotion if she and I can pull this off. Project goes fine. Clients very impressed with our aviation expert. Clients also impressed that we were able to fix everything in a very short time frame. Client sends letter to boss man back in Perth saying we are gods and will pay whatever the bill is because the other option was having their rig shut down. So I fly back, Ross goes home, and I submit my expenses. Maybe half an hour later, I get called into the boss man's office. "You're claiming $600 a effing day for per diem?" he screams. Per diem's your daily allowance for meals, etc. Yeah, it's all there in the account. The F did you do? Eat truffles out of Elle McPherson's butt? Well, it was a priority job. Do you have receipts for any of this crap? Come on, mate. It's KL. Everything's in cash. You know that. You've been around. This is... How did... The F is wrong with you? Mate, we charge this out at $400 an hour. I was doing 12-hour days. It's nothing, and the client's happy. In the end, Ross made about $3,000 in cash and saved my effing butt. My assistant didn't get promoted, but I got her a healthy effing pay raise, a bonus, and a kickback for meeting her billable KPIs, which I fudged from my own hours, but F it. Client was happy, and we got a lot more work out of them. I got a written copy of a verbal warning put in my file, which I took about as seriously as I do grown men that own poodles. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.